Hi, Harris from Growlife. Today, I'd like to talk about something very important that about that at least to teenagers. Now, I find a lot of them are quite upset. Why would they be upset? What is the reason why teenagers would be upset? A lot many reasons why teenagers can get upset today. But one of the things that seems to be getting their goose or getting getting them a little upset is the fact that probing questions they say by aunts and uncles who or relatives and friends who seem to be a little older, who tend to come and ask them these questions that they feel are probing. They feel that's a very personal space. Who are these people to come and ask us these questions? Now, what I feel is it's not that these people are, I don't think people are being rude or whatever. I think it's more to do with the fact that, these are things, there's something called societal norms, things that have happened for ages, things that have been, something that people are used to. These are things that for always and ever has been a way of life. When you go to a wedding, when you go to a function, you meet a lot of uncles and aunts or relatives or anybody, generally. It could be anybody, somebody who's an acquaintance or a family friend or whatever. The first question they ask you is the question that they may know very little about you. May not be much that they know about you or are aware about you, but to break the ice, or, it's courtesy that they ask you a few questions, or it would look rude if they just look at you, smile and walk away. So impulsively they tend to ask you the fairly relevant thing that they are aware of about you. It could be that you're married a year ago. It could be that you finished college, or you're waiting for a job, or you've taken up a job recently. Some little information that they have with them, they have to build a conversation. And what do? They ask you the most obvious question. If you're not married, when is the wedding? Why are you not getting married? You're getting very old. Things like this, which actually offend a lot of youngsters, because today's youngsters are, as I said, they're very refined. They're a lot more, they don't want to be too intrusive into other people's lives. It's about them, their lives. They go about. I'm not saying they're selfish or anything, but I think they're a lot more refined. They're a lot more, doesn't mean that the older people are not cultured. I wouldn't say that. I would say that, they've come up in a manner where they give space to each other. There are particular areas that they don't intrude or divulge about. So these kind of equations that are framed quite rigidly among youngsters, even though they may look very casual and not seemingly bothered, there are certain areas that they don't find or would rather not. And even when normally when older people tend to make fun or pull someone's leg, the youngsters seem to find not very funny. So there's a change. There's a huge change that's happening in the past 10 or 20 years. I presume it's been happening always, forever and ever. Any generation that comes the past with a new one, there's always some seeming differences. But the current generation, there seems to be a dramatic difference, because there's a lot of adoption of ideas from the West. There's a lot more exposure. There's there's a lot more the culture that the earlier culture and today's culture has a lot of differences. So I'm not saying that the old culture is in any way less, but it tends to be a little more casual about limitation of freedom, or questions that can be asked, or etc. So these questions seem to offend a lot of youngsters today. As I said, you would really be surprised what offends youngsters today. But but mostly I think they're quite dignified about their ways. They do things that they feel is within certain norms that they have, a framework that they believe is right and wrong. They're quite clear about it. Though sometimes a lot of people may say that they're way too casual. I don't think so. I think today's youngsters are definitely focused. They're definitely very dignified about a lot of things, and they have very strong opinions, but they would rather not get into unnecessary arguments and etc. And I would say a wee bit too sensitive also. Till they face a lot of situations or experience in life, they could be construed to be a wee bit sensitive, which is not a bad thing after all. Because sensitivity is a wonderful thing, as long as it does not hurt you at every instance. So coming back to the story, what would I advise the youngsters? Be prepared. Anticipate. You need to use charm, and you need to disarm those people rather than getting angry and offended, because you're going to have a tough time if you go to weddings and things. Or rather, the other option is you avoid going to weddings or functions or places where a lot of these uncles and aunts or anybody who will ask you these probing questions. So anticipate these questions, be prepared, have a few answers which would be ready-made, which would disarm the other person, and then they will come around, and when they realize, okay, this person, this kid not somebody I'm going to pull down that easily. So once they realize they're not going to win at it, they will give in. They don't want to willfully harm you. It's just that, it's a courtesy question mostly, or an icebreaker as they call it. So I feel it is a transcending of two generations that are coming together, and we as youngsters need to be mentally prepared to deal with it rather than getting agitated or angry. Once we realize the person's intention, maybe there may be a few people who may ask it in a willful manner, but mostly I think it's a generic question, a question that they mostly ask anybody. So I would say that it would be nice if you learn to deal with it. Don't react, don't get agitated, don't get angry about it. Most of them go back home and end up arguing with the parents or family, saying, I really find that uncle or aunt of yours really painful, and etc., which is not what you should be doing, because eventually uncles and aunts are uncles and aunts, and they're very important to the person, to the parent, or whoever it is. So you need to learn to deal with it. And to older people, maybe we need to frame our questions a little better, or maybe start off with some other easy, casual question, which may not necessarily put people, youngsters especially, way much on the defensive. This is a time when a lot of things are changing, and I find a lot more older people also have adapted so very beautifully. They've understood and come around and realize that they learn to adapt to the ways of younger people, rather than getting questions that would hurt somebody. They've also learned it, but then you'll still find somebody. I did that the other day. I had my neighbor who was building his house, and he and his wife were standing outside. The house has been going on for a little while, but they've been going at a pretty good pace. Unwittingly, I went and asked him, when are you moving in? So I could see that he was a little concerned, because I'm sure there must have been a little few issues going at home about the house getting delayed and etc. So my intention was not to hurt them. But then, when you're driving by, you see them, there's not much you can remember. Suddenly you ask them, when are you moving in? But to that other person, it could be a cause for somewhat of strife or disagreements. We wade into it without realizing that we're causing some familial discord, or whatever you call it. So, like I read a little lovely saying somewhere. It said, make sure brain is engaged before putting mouth in gear. Unfortunately, the gear is put a little later after the damage has been done. But I'm not ever saying that the questions asked by people are intentionally wrong. It's just, a casual question. You meet 100 or 1,000 people at a wedding. You need to be nice to everybody. So you have a few standard questions or things that you normally ask out of courtesy. And it sometimes so happens that it hurts some young, bright, young, cheerful person. So you bright, young, cheer people, do not take it wrong. It's not always meant to hurt you. It's just a way of asking, or an icebreaker. Take care. Have a lovely day. Harris from Grow Life. Be coming in with a lot of lovely videos coming in. Next video, I'd like to do something about bouncing back. Any other suggestion, if in case you have, anybody has, please do send it forth to me in comments or your feedback. I'd really appreciate your comments and feedbacks. And it'd be a great honor if I could have more people pressing the bell icon, subscribe, and motivating me to do more videos. I'm sure as time goes on, even my videos will improve, as everything in life. Getting started is half the job done, the war won. So that's what I'm doing, and I pray that you will all support me in this journey together to a much more beautiful and lovely life. Harris, Grow Life, signing off. Take care. All the best.